Welcome to Biztech's Jobs and Career Show. On the show where we feature HR experts and industry leaders to give you insights into the jobs and careers landscape across the region. Today, the conversation is around how companies can overcome challenges to mental health, productivity, and disconnection in the new hybrid environment of working. Now, we get insights from our guests on how leaders can respond to new work models by building a strong culture around trust, autonomy, and creating a sense of belonging. Now, to break it all down for us is Craig Brown, CEO of Everest Engineering from Australia. Craig, welcome to the show.
Brian, it's lovely to be with you today.
Now, Craig, can you please start by telling us about Everest Engineering and your journey so far?
Right. We started as a company in late 2018. A handful of us were working at a SaaS company, and through a series of, at a point, the company was acquired. And so the challenges in front of us on that front were, already known and laid out. We knew what that journey was going to be like. And so my partner, Ranganathan, who lived in Bangalore in this business, he called me up one day and said, "Hey, why don't we start something brand new together?" And off we went. We neither of us had started a software agency business before. So, doing something you haven't done before is always engaging, a bit exciting. When we decided to start the business, one of the things that you always need a good purpose, right? Like what's the purpose? You can't just kind of go and do something. So what we decided we wanted to do was to create one of the greatest places to work, somewhere where employees are going to come and have an extraordinary experience. And so the decisions we make in the business are always trying to pull towards that aspiration. We do an okay job, but we're never quite satisfied. There's always something better we can do. And so, all the decisions we make about growing the business or the type of customers we work with or the systems and processes and structures we put in place inside the organization are all geared towards trying to make the team members have the best possible experience we can manage for them.
Okay, and of course, the philosophy behind that is also then happy employees, happy customers.
Right. Well, it's an ecosystem, isn't it? I've recently started laying out this kind of 4 promises thing, right? There's a promise to employees, a promise to our customers, a promise to the company, and a promise to the community. And nested in each of those headings, there's feedback loops, right? So if we have great employees, the customers have a great experience. If the customers have a great experience, that generates a sustainable economic model for the business, which flows back to being able to hire great employees and continue to feed that ecosystem of positivity, I guess. Yeah.
And I'm going to come back to you on that, and we're going to drill down in a couple of aspects of culture, trust, autonomy, and so forth. But tell us a little bit more about Everest Engineering. What are your key service offerings and what makes you different?
Well, we're a software agency. We've got the full suite of services that you would look for in a software agency. So there's designers and business analysts and delivery managers and product managers, as well as the software development community. We tend to bias towards SaaS products. So cloud-based offerings are the products we tend to build. It's not exclusively that, though. We have a variety of things going on. I think things that make us stand out in our market is we really try to pay attention to quality. And for me, quality isn't just the quality of the software or quality of the product that we construct. It's the quality of the relationship and the quality of the experience we have on the journey together, right? One of the measures is, did people enjoy themselves? But another one that's also very important is, do we learn from each other, right? What did we learn on this journey together? And I think if you can look for those, again, it's all about those positive feedback loops, right? If you can look for those opportunities to grow professionally, that then feeds back into that. Am I growing as an employee? Is Everest meeting its promise to me as an employee? And the customers are doing the same thing. Am I growing as an organization? Are we getting better at delivering software products? And so, those virtuous feedback loops are everything that we pay attention to.
And again, because your business is all about talent. So essentially, it's a positive feedback loop, as you mentioned, because if the employees are happy, they are growing, they are working with smart people around them,
right?
That's going to attract other people to join.
Right. That's right. And the labor market for software people, designers, business analysts, everything is really intense. And so why would people want to come and work with us? We have to do an extraordinary job of giving them a good workplace experience. And if we don't do that, then we can't thrive as a business. So, we work real hard at that. That's our number one priority. Mm.
So Craig, you're based in Australia, but you also have an office in India.
That's right. We have two offices in India, Hyderabad and Bangalore.
Okay. And which are the clients that you work with, and which markets do you focus on in terms of delivery?
Well, we have about 2/3 of our employees live in India, 1/3 in Australia. And we have 1/3 of our customers spread across India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, and 2/3 in Australia at the moment. And there's the odd customer in the United States or other parts of the world as well from time to time. The Australian customer base is because I've lived and worked here in Melbourne for so many years. And so my professional network is very strong across Melbourne. That's where most of our customers are. There's the customer spread is a mix between some of Australia's larger SaaS companies. So we work with, some of the big Australian brands that have got like digital, that are digital businesses, but also we have a steady pipeline of brand new startups or early day startups, and they're fun to work with because they've got unique challenges and limited capacity, and you have to be cunning and creative to be able to do well in those contexts.
Okay, so Craig, let me ask you. So if I'm a startup and I've got an idea, so I'm not a tech guy, I'm a founder. Basically, I could come and go to Everest Engineering, and you will translate my dreams into a software product, essentially.
We'll do our best. Before we let you spend any money, we'll have several conversations with you to shake down your business idea, right? And you can't just try to launch a software product and cross your fingers and hope they come, because that's expensive and it's a risky business. So we want you to go out and validate there's a market there, and that you've got an effective channel for reaching that market. So we'll do a little bit of lightweight coaching in the early days to help you, prove that there's a real business model before we let you start spending money with us. Typically,
tell us how you work with some of your, as you said, a lot of your clients are SaaS customers. Tell us how you work with them.
We've got a couple of different operating models that we deploy. So we've got team members in India and in Australia. And so if you're a large, mature SaaS company, then you've probably got a reasonable competence in delivering software products. And I think there's a kind of a value set and a world view on how products are engineered and built at that scale that's coherent with the way we think things should be done as well. And so the value alignment is the platform for success for us. Like if we're on the same page about how we should approach work, the rest of the job is just kind of working together to solve problems. If you've got this gap between values, like if you see that the way to do work is different to the way your client does, there'll be friction there. And so we're lucky that we have a good network of customers to work with here in Melbourne and a few in Sydney. And as we grow around the world, we find that platform of common values is actually the foundation of success, right? On the back of that, you have like a lot of collaboration and communication, and we really try to infuse this feeling into the teams that we're a bunch of mates trying to solve a problem together, versus like there's this client provider relationship at the front line. We just want it to be a bunch of people working together.
So Craig, in fact, interestingly enough, you were the right business at the right time, because if you think about software architecture, if you get the architecture wrong from the beginning, essentially you're screwed thereafter. But in your case, you've architected the business from the start to be managing a distributed workforce.
Right.
And then COVID hit.
Right, exactly right. It's funny you mentioned that, because when COVID did hit us, it certainly had an impact on us, because deals in our sales pipeline disappeared, and our customers, their own cash flow was winding back, especially in that first 3 or 4 months. After the first 3 to 6 months, it leveled out and everything kind of went back to normal. But in the early days, it was a bit stressful. But in terms of the team delivering the work, because we did start with that distributed remote DNA, the actual day-to-day work of the frontline team members barely changed. right? We did introduce a few internal activities like encouraging people to get online and play games together, or, you know, Friday digital drinks, or, you know, a variety of things, because when you do go fully remote, you miss the casual interactions, and the casual interactions are what build relationships. And so when they disappeared and everything became scheduled Zoom meetings or what have you, the interactions between people became very transactional. And so we had to look at that and go, how do we solve for that problem? And so building in social activities and getting people to spend time together. Ranganathan would host evening events of karaoke, or teaching people to paint watercolors, and a variety of things like that to just bring people together and get them to spend time in a non-transactional way.
And, you know, Craig, that's fascinating, because, and that's really how work is going to evolve moving forward as well. Because I'm from an environment, for example, even though today we work in a distributed environment, I've always worked in some sort of technology perspective. But actually, one of my European bosses before had a philosophy of, and we talk about micromanagement and its time being over: command, control, correct.
Right.
Because he used to be an army officer before. So the thing is, a Swiss army officer. So the thing is, that's how differently technology companies are managed today. Companies like yourself and companies that I worked for 20 over years ago are culturally completely different.
Right. You try to take that management style to software developers these days, they won't stay, right? They'll just leave the organization. So you need to be more respectful of the talent. The other side of that too is the more people, the more leeway people are given. If you set the right goals and context for them, they'll just get excited about trying to make a contribution, right? People get into this industry because they're creative and because they want to make a difference and because they like the job. You know, so it's cliched now, but it's, you know, set the direction and get out of the way.
Absolutely, because the thing is, I think one of the things you said earlier is really to give, earlier in the interview, was really to give people a sense of purpose. And young people are very much driven by that today, to do innovative, impactful, and purposeful work, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, and purpose in work is great. That's another thing I've been reflecting on just lately, which is not every job is super exciting for everyone. And so back to that promise that we've got to our employees, right? To create a great workplace experience, how do we satisfy, you know, a wide variety of people, right? How do we solve for the needs of many, many people? And so the diversity in work is probably an important attribute of what we've got going on here as well. So, you know, then there's this notion that, like, you put a bunch of people together, and this particular project, say it's some fintech blockchain thing, right, is really exciting to some of the people on the team, but not to others. So how do you deal with that? And one of the things we've been talking about lately is, like, there's this framing issue, right? So you look for, you know, great leadership, I think, gets people excited about what's in front of them, right?
Yes.
There's feedback loops that come back later, which is like, the more you spend time on a problem and the more you understand it and the more you contribute into that space, you inherently naturally start to get curious and start to get excited about it. But at the beginning, it takes some sort of framing. Why is this worth our time? Why is this something that's interesting? And so then for me, I think there's this, like, notion of, well, you know, in the software industry, different people are motivated by, say, the technology that you're going to use, or the people that you're going to work with and learn from, or the culture of the organization and what's going on there, or the social infrastructure of the context you're working in, or the impact you're going to make on people, or the impact that they're going to make on the world. So there's all these different contexts, and you can kind of look for the payoff in different places that connect to the people, but you have to know the people to be able to do that. So, yeah.
Now, Craig, how did you, and so it sounds like you built a great culture over time, obviously, in a very short time. You know, you're a 2.5-year-old company, essentially, coming up to 3 years. What were the key challenges? Because, again, distributed workforce, you had people in India and 2 offices in India. How did you instill that culture from the very beginning? Because culture is very important and it's set in the beginning.
We're lucky, I guess, because both Ranganathan and I, the two founders of the business, have paid attention to organizational culture a lot. The organization that we left had a pretty good working culture as well. And so, coming straight out of that and starting something new, we had things that we could copy. Some of the people that we started the business with, we'd worked with before, so we could replicate some behaviors and practices and values and beliefs very, very easily. But
what are the top 3 things that you did right, do you think?
Well, I think openness, transparency, respecting people, all those things are the foundation, right? Like on our website, we've got a list of values and beliefs that we have collectively, but something that I just keep saying over and over again, which I observe and I appreciate and I share back to the team, is it's a real culture of looking after the people around you, right? Yeah, so no one goes alone. They're always supported by other people. And I think for me, even more so, I guess, while we're all, remote working and in lockdowns and stuff like that, for me, being connected to people, not at a transactional level, but like in some sort of community context, really helps take the edge off the stresses of work and all that sort of stuff.
And from a mental health perspective, because that is an issue. So interestingly enough, while there's always been an awareness of mental health challenges and issues in a place like Australia, which has the support infrastructure to support people in this space, in a lot of Asia, mental health issues only came to the forefront and because of COVID, when people started to work at home and all these stresses developed. How did you, because I think one of the key things that happened was organizations suddenly woke up and said, hey, this is a new problem, and it's across the region, which then has led to a number of mental health med tech startups to try to fix this problem. How did you tackle that with your remote workforce?
I can't say I'm an expert in this, right? But I think the thing that we do pay attention to is, well, one thing that happened during maybe May or April or thereabouts last year is a bunch of our team members expressed that they were frustrated and anxious and a variety of other things. And a couple of them decided they would like to start talking about inclusivity and diversity. And so what I was able to do, or we were able to do as an organization, is encourage them and give them a platform to talk about it and to explore the issues with their teammates and colleagues. So they turned that into a bit of a working group, and I think it was about 8 or 10 people regularly met up to talk about the issues. And eventually that turned into a whole of company activity where everyone went into workshops to talk about their understanding of diversity and inclusivity and what that might mean for them and for us as a workplace. And then out of that came we don't publish it externally, but an internal charter of our principles around diversity and inclusivity. And when you come and work here, these are things that we collectively sign up to. So that's a beginning. Now, it's not just mental health, that's slightly adjacent to it. But I think giving space to those type of conversations helps people express themselves. And then you're right, there's this level of familiarity with the dialogue around mental health in Australia that's different to in India. But I think being an organization that is cross-cultural and is international and has people talking to each other on a regular basis, you have Australian team members will just get into conversations with their Indian teammates. And then the conversation is at a different context, right? It's not an Indian conversation or an Australian conversation, it's an international one. And so the perspectives of both sides get to come to bear, and people can learn from each other and people can appreciate the contribution of others. And then as a result, you feel appreciated. And so that kind of, back to those feedback loops, you just want to keep playing into those positive feedback loops that are expansive and help people grow and help people, be comfortable in the place they're in.
Craig, it sounds really interesting. It's been a fascinating conversation, especially in terms of work and culture. But I want to zoom back now on Everest Engineering.
Mm-hmm.
What are your plans for Everest Engineering in the next 24 months?
Well, here in Melbourne, we're still locked in our houses, so it's difficult to get out. We're not allowed to.
We've all been through that.
Yeah. But our aspirations are to, it's a bit of a customer journey. Like I back to diversity of work as the platform, like cultural alignment and then diversity of work are the platform by which we give our employees a great work experience. And so we just want to continue to pursue working with great companies. We don't want to be the biggest company in the world or make too much money or anything like that. What we want to do is we want to partner up with organizations that have got similar value sets, provide a great partnering relationship to them. So, back to that journey, traveling together, right? And then we all grow and learn together. For me, I guess there's some sort of strategic goals there, which would be, how do we work with the best brands in the world? So, at the moment, we're doing a pretty good job in Southeast Australia, but how do we take that positioning and make it international? So companies in Singapore, hello, Singapore, we're coming to get you. And then, the West Coast of the United States and London and Berlin, like we'd love to have customers in all of those sort of spaces. And so we've just got to navigate this journey to global, to be a global brand rather than an Australia-India combo brand. That's what we're going to do over the next 3 years. So whatever the biggest companies in San Francisco are in 3 years, we want to be working with them.
Craig, it's been a fascinating conversation. Thank you for taking your time to come on the show.
Yeah, it's fantastic to talk to you, Brian.
Now, we've been speaking to Craig Brown, the CEO of Everest Engineering, on Biztech's Jobs and Career Show. I'm Brian Fernandez. This video will be on our Facebook and LinkedIn sites, as well as our website, www.biztech.asia. Please like and subscribe to our various platforms. Thank you very much for tuning in.